small town. One thing I was telling you, Matt, before we jumped on this call is I've run into multiple seven-figure businesses doing, mid seven figures, anywhere from 3 to 7 million in revenue in the last little bit with just horrible books, right? They haven't been run right. They're doing the right things to try to get them around. Um, when you go to sell a business and have bad books, it makes it tricky for a buyer to actually understand what they're going to get, which anytime you introduce fear or uncertainty into a deal, there's risk, and buyers are going to pay less if there's risk, right? My question for you, Matt, is we've got a lot of entrepreneurs listening. They have their businesses, they're about to acquire a business. How can an entrepreneur know if their bookkeeper isn't doing things correctly? And you gave an example of like, hey, it's not the right time. Well, you can't run your books once a year. You pay your taxes once a year, whatever, but you have to run your books more often. How can entrepreneurs know what could be done better or what's being done wrong with their bookkeeping?
Right. You see it all the time. I see it all the time. We have conversations in fact, literally this morning, I had a conversation with a woman, her business, $2.5 million a year. She says to me, I think it's time that we started doing bookkeeping. I think it was time 2 years ago, but it's never too late to start. I'm glad you're calling today. But yeah, if your first question is just, do you have timely numbers, right? If I say, how did you do last month? Right now, we're having this conversation in January. So if I'm asking you, well, how do your December numbers look? And you're going, December? They haven't even finished August yet. Okay, that's the first sign you're not really with the right firm. The numbers are no good to you. What happened last August is so far back in history that you can't make any useful decisions by the time you finally see August numbers if it's 6 months after the fact. So the first thing, you don't have to be any kind of accountant. You just are my numbers current? Am I getting current numbers every single month that I can look at? The second thing is, do you have faith in your numbers, right? You should be able to look at your numbers and say, yeah, I'm not an accountant, but I'm looking at my numbers and say, yeah, that the sales numbers feel right. That cost of goods sold, that looks right in proportion to sales, my ad spend, or, whatever your metrics are, the things you normally look at, payroll. Or are you going, that doesn't seem like you've got $10,000 in travel here. I haven't been anywhere in 6 months. Well, what's going on? So when you look at your numbers, does it make sense? Does it flow through? Does it compute with what you feel like your business is doing? And if not, if you ask questions, hey, how'd you get this number? Or where did this come from? If the answer is, oh, I'm not sure, or I don't know, or, oh, I thought you gave me that number, or, something along those lines, then okay, again, you got no answer. 3 weeks later, you get an email saying, something about something you didn't even ask about, right? That's a good sign. You're probably not, right? You should have immediate feedback. There should be a logical explanation. And then if there's a reason to disagree, then jump on a call. Let's figure it out. Well, I thought it was X. You thought it was Y. Let's figure out what it should be. Is it X? Is it Y? Maybe it's Z. But you should be able to have real-time data and answers to the questions you have about your numbers. And then the last thing black and white, easiest test that you can do if you're not sure if your books are in good shape or if your numbers are accurate, take a look at the balance sheet. And I know that's not a report that most entrepreneurs look at very often, but again, it's without even being an accountant, without knowing hardly anything about accounting, take a look at the balance sheet. And if you look at, let's say, it should show your bank balance on there. If you look at your bank balance and it should be about $50,000, right? And the number you see on your balance sheet says minus $125,000 without knowing anything else.
It's off.
I'm going to tell you there's a problem. Same thing with credit card balances, loan balances, sales tax balances, anything you look at, your vehicle loan, the value of your vehicle, anything on there, you should probably have at least a rough idea of what that number should look like. And if it's nowhere close, that's probably a good indication that either they're just not keeping up on it, they're not asking the right questions, and clearly they're not double checking for accuracy and just common sense checks. So within 10 minutes, you should be able to tell if your books are any good or not without having any knowledge of accounting. And if you're not sure, you want a second opinion, I'll tell you within 10 minutes if your books are any good or not. Free of charge, no obligation. Just send it to me and I can tell you immediately, yep, these are close, or no, these are miles off.
And we'll